So this is going to be my 5,000 mile review of the Bumot Xtremada Panniers. Since I got them back in June, I've covered at least 5,000 miles, using them, which is both a European trip on my own with some friends, and also riding with my partner on the back. So I would say I'm fairly able to speak about my thoughts, on them. Things that I like, things that I don't like, the practicalities. I know there is a mounting system that Bumot do themselves, but these were bought specifically to fit onto the OEM BMW racks, as you can see there. So they have the mounting hardware already built in. You can see there's already some wear and tear on that one. So when it comes to fitting the panniers, I thought I'd do it with a full one, just to illustrate a little bit of a quirk that I'm not so keen on after they've actually been fitted. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed because I can't get... So you need to have this tab open in order to start, and then the pannier lines up with the BMW rack there, as I stated, and it is a little bit fiddly, or at least it can be anyway, just to get it in the right spot. And then you need a good shove, and then that locks across there. Which the problem is, if you want to lock it, which you probably will, to get the key in, if I can find the right one, that is, because of this and how high the pannier sits when it's full, which is not a problem. My partner fits on the back fine. It obviously doesn't get in the way of anything, but it does mean that trying to get your hand in there to put the key in the lock is a little bit tricky. It's the main thing I'm not keen on with this. So that is the installation of it once it's full. Same as when it's empty, although obviously empty is easier. Removal, well, just the reverse, lift up the lever, and on this side it does take a little bit of a pull, and then it comes straight off. Easy as that. Okay, so when it comes to packing the panniers, I've played around with it with a couple of different ways, of doing it that seem to work for me. I've chosen the uneven pannier to actually do this on, and it won't stand up, because obviously you have the cutout on the bottom, which means obviously it's quite narrow at the bottom. So the biggest problem is when you're trying to get the waterproof bags in, the actual opening won't stay open. So I'm just going to change the camera angle and then just show what I do. Okay, so what I tend to do with this is I fold over the outside edges like that, so that this opening stays open more easily, like that. If you pack the inner bag and then put it in here, you've got to try and squeeze. Obviously gravity pushes everything to the bottom of the bag, but then it's wanting to squeeze into this narrow bit here. Obviously packing this without the inner bag isn't really viable. So what I tend to do is I tend to take the entire pannier into the hotel, and what I do is I put the inner bag in. This is more of a faff than it actually is, because I'm doing it on top of a bed, which is squishy, and obviously doesn't want me to it obviously doesn't want to stand up. But basically, that's what I do, and then I use packing cubes just to fill it all the way to the bottom and right up to the top. And then obviously I can roll this down afterwards. It's just a typical roll bag, nothing special about it. Some people have said that these aren't as waterproof as they claim. I've not had any issues with it. Like I say, I've done 5,000 miles, and although I did get a tiny bit of water inside the inner pannier at one point, nothing got wet. So as far as I'm concerned, they're fully waterproof. One thing I would say from having ridden these, when I was away with friends in July, we had very little rain, but when myself and my partner went away in August, it was pretty rainy. These did not let a drop of water in, even though they do have the inner bags. No water got in. Well, that's a lie. The only one time that it did, these were sort of puffed out, and water somehow got in there. So what I would say is make sure that when you're prior to rolling it, that you pull these edges in and then roll it down. But we rode in torrential rain. In fact, 1 or 2 days it was raining all day long. These got absolutely filthy, but everything we had inside was bone dry. One thing I really liked about these, which was one of the reasons that I bought it, was these extra pockets. Now, I would have preferred, if I'm honest, if they had had the option to have one as a dry bag, so you could put extra stuff in it, and one as a bottle holder, which I believe is it the Lone Rider bags, I think, have, with the Molly attachment system on them. So that's the only thing I would have preferred. But these do take either 500 or 750 ml aluminium bottles, as well as just regular water bottles, or any kind of soft drink, and that can be tightened up afterwards. Another thing I wanted to mention, these, although they're plastic, these are, well, at least so far, these have been super hard wearing, and I've lifted the bags using these as basically handles, and I've had no issues whatsoever. They seem rock solid, and you can really cinch these down hard. So yeah, really, even though they're plastic, no issues with that whatsoever. So would I buy these again? Yes, absolutely. I've had the SW Motec aluminium panniers for probably 6-7 years. I really can't fault them. The only reason I bought the soft ones was because if you are carrying a lot of luggage, and you pack an inner bag for the aluminium panniers, it can be difficult to get the inner bag in if after you've packed it, it's sort of bulging a little bit. So I figured this way, with the amount of stuff that we tend to take on holiday with us, that having soft panniers was a better option. They would be smaller and narrower if if I wasn't using them, but I wanted to leave them on the bike, but that they would mold and conform to the shape that I wanted when trying to pack them, and also being able to sort of cinch them down as tight as I can, to try and keep them a bit more compact, were my main reasons. They've never let me down so far in 5,000 miles. They've been completely waterproof, barring one incident, which was my own fault. So yeah, like I said earlier in the video, slight quirk with locking and unlocking them. Obviously, if the pannier wasn't packed quite as high and full, that wouldn't be an issue. It would have been nice to not have an uneven pannier on the exhaust side, but there isn't really a lot you can do about that. So it is what it is. But yes, I would absolutely recommend these. And I think I got these from Adventure Bike Shop here in the UK.